Trying to keep a straight face. Good afternoon, Traci.
Good afternoon, Wulwyn. How are you today? I can kind of tell just based on your mood.
Yeah. I am excellent. I am looking forward to this 28th day leap year. 2024, our EP3 season number 5, and looking forward to start this one. And to all of them, all of our eavesdroppers who are coming on, please eavesdrop, drop something in the comment where you're at. If this is a replay, hey, we're still listening. We'll still come out and see it and reply to you. Traci, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, surprisingly bright for such a gloomy day. It's kind of, overcast here where we are today.
Gotcha.
And, but yeah, I mean, it's, we had my mom's celebration of life last weekend. So it was kind of a whirlwind tour. We left late on Friday, arrived 2 a.m., which was actually 4 a.m. our time.
Okay.
On Saturday morning, the celebration was all day Saturday, and then we flew out at 6 a.m. on Sunday. So I mean, it literally was, one of those stop-offs, but it was beautiful. It was a beautiful closure in a lot of ways.
Gotcha.
It was, I can't even remember. My brother and I were trying to remember the last time we actually saw each other in person. So I met a new family member I didn't know I had. There was a cousin I never even knew I had.
Wow.
Who happened to be in town staying with our other cousin. And she asked to come along. So, I mean, it's just that it's the circle of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's you lose some, you gain some, everything passes through. And to be able to honor my mom in the way that, and hear the stories. I mean, there were some funny stories that were shared.
Okay.
Everybody really focused, I think, on, actually not focused on anything in particular. Like some people shared my dad, it was cool to see how everybody had their moment.
Wow,
everybody kind of had they got to go through what they were experiencing in their own way. So you also got to witness different people and,
correct.
Going through where they were with everything. And, and that I think was beautiful too.
Wow.
Made me realize how much I miss family,
Okay.
So, miss seeing them and I always forget how tall my brother is. He's 6'7", so you get a hug him.
I don't want to stand there. I'm a 6'3", so I'm just like, hey, what's up, man? What's going on?
Yeah, I know. But I got to see his kids who I haven't seen. I mean, they've grown up so beautifully. They're basketball players too. like your kids.
Okay. Cool.
They just both won the championship. So my niece, her team was undefeated this season, and my nephew, they won the championship. For the boys in their age group. So, yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah, that's what I told them. I said,
know,
that's a
right?
big feat. And they're in a competitive. This is not travel ball. This is actually the school championship, but they're in a pretty competitive league because it's all the private schools.
Gotcha.
And so those kids, they all have a lot of support and a lot of they got their coaches and stuff. So there's some pretty good ball players even at their age.
Gotcha. What are the ages?
So my nephew is 12, I believe.
Okay.
And my niece is, I think she's 8 now.
Okay. Good. Yeah, it starts in the beginning, right? Start early.
Yeah. And they are both coached by my sister-in-law. She's been coaching their teams for a while. She's 6'1". Like, she's also comes from basketball.
So those kids are going to be just pretty tall, huh?
Oh, they are. It's funny because my daughter, who's 16, is like, I think they're taller and as tall as I am.
But she needs to tell them, look, you may be older, but you may be taller, but I can still cut you to size.
It reminded me of my brother because, like, for so many years I was, the big sister, and I was taller, and then all of a sudden he hit his growth spurt. Yeah. And I remember him looking down. I was like, I'm still the boss.
When you were speaking to those of you eavesdropping, hey, let us know, how's your day going, what you're thinking. Who knows? Your question might be the impetus of our conversation today. So the catalyst. So please don't be shy. We were climbing up the stairs last night, and I told Verlin, I said, gosh, we've lost a lot of people, because I started to think about 20 years ago here in North Carolina, we had a close family who we call him our dad. We lost him. Then his wife 2 or 3 years ago, and then a relative, a niece of ours who was pretty much our ages. And we started going through the line and said, wow, there was a time when we thought we were immortal. There was a time when we thought that we will always have these individuals around us. And then here we are climbing the stairs saying, oh, this person's gone, daddy's gone, this person's gone. But then as we reached, I don't know why it's coming to me, as we reached the top of the stairs, we both said, but wow, God has been good to us. As these people are going, there are new people coming in. There's my nephew who has a girlfriend now that he's bringing in. There's a niece who just had a baby. So we were like, oh my goodness. As we were climbing, we've lost. And when we reached the apex, oh, wow, but we've gained. Right? So tie in line with what you're saying in terms of how you saw all these individuals at the memorial, how you saw the moments, the way they interacted. We were there for, saying bye or remembering. But we have to be fair, I got to switch this to, I think we've gone to the main event, or is this warm up? I think I'm going to say main event.
Okay. That's one less thing I have to keep track of.
I know, right? As we think about, oh, we've lost. It's so good to have a revolving door. Don't just have it be a one-sided door that when you open, you bam. Revolve it, because all things, I learned this in stats class. Taking a coin and flipping. As you flip it, the longer you flip it, it's going to normalize to 50-50. Yep. It has to normalize. Yeah. And I've done it with my family. I've done it with when I'm coaching basketball. I say the shot you didn't take is a subtraction from your 50% that you would have made. So don't say woe is me. woe is me 50%, and oh, wow is me. Because as I'm thinking about those individuals leaving, I'm saying to myself, oh wow. And when we get on the top of the stairs, I go, oh, we gained so many. Yes.
I think that is the main theme for today, because the lens through which we look at things creates our reality, right? And one of the top focus points I've been hearing from clients in the last week is this idea of the integration, of we've been so kind of conditioned to this or that. You can have this or that, right? So then we're focused on the polarized sides, right? So if the spectrum has ends, we're always focused on one end or the other. But in reality, life is shades of gray in between, right? It's not the black or the white. It's everything in between. And so, this idea of, can we have this and that? Can we have sorrow and pain and joy and ease, or fun, or however you want to translate, the other, can we celebrate the new and grieve the old? I mean, we have the capacity. We do it without even knowing we're doing it. I think when we become more aware, my brother kept saying, he's like, it's terrible that it took this for us to all get in the room together. But what I'm celebrating is we're all in the room together.
Yes.
And for me, just being in everybody's presence, I've really started to develop this appreciation for being in people's presence, right? Just literally that state of presence, but just being with them. And for no other reason than just, the fact that you can, you can be there at that time. Because my daughter was like, what? We're like basically touching down, like we spend more time traveling to get there than we actually are going to be there. But I said, but in that time that we're there, there's that we get to be together. Like we get to physically be together, which, I mean, I've heard from so many people after COVID, where so many people were, shut away from one another for so long, that there's this newfound appreciation for the ability to be together. And I think when you do look at losing so many people, and like you said about your niece, I mean, at all ages, I mean, it isn't just we're losing the elderly. I mean, we're losing people that typically it's like they should not be dying at this point in their lives. And so I think that celebration, can we grieve some of the things that are still we're coming to terms with, even after the last 4 years, the fallout of the last 4 years, for example. Somebody was sharing with me, one of my clients was sharing with me a statistic. She has teenage girls. And obviously I have a teenage girl, and we talk about that from time to time. And she says, what the statistic is that the current teenagers nowadays are experiencing the same level of mental strain that a typical individual in a mental hospital in the 1950s was experiencing.
Whoa.
Mental hospital.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's the typical teenage these days, because of so much insecurity. And this particular generation has also grown up. I mean, they came in when there were school shootings going on all the time, like they entered kind of the world, at a volatile time, and it's been nothing but volatility ever since. So you think about how that affects a generation of kids, and just, I'm proud of the kids these days that say, hey mom, hey dad, I need some support. I need a counselor, I need a therapist, or I need like that they can actually vocalize what they need, that they have enough self-awareness to say, and understanding that it's okay. Because I mean, our generation is like, nope, I'll do it myself. I don't need support. I'm here to support everybody else, but I don't need support. That as much as we talk about the snowflakes and everything, there is this other side that I think we're working to balance out, which is that they're okay receiving support. They're okay receiving coaching. They're okay. In fact, they ask for it. They want it. Wow. They want to work with the older generations or even other people to ensure that, that they're supported in the way that they need to. Now we could take that too far. If we're trying to do it for them, then we end up creating, that effect like we've talked about, in the last couple of times. But I just, I'm seeing these things, and my question is always, okay, what is the bigger picture? Like this is what we see on the surface, right? This thing is painful or hard or bad or whatever we constitute the reality of it on the surface, but it's not about the thing or the story. No. It's about the role it plays in a deeper, lesson, or a deeper unfoldment, or a deeper evolution of things. And that's what I'm seeing a lot and hearing that. But that this and that is a really big one right now.
Yeah. Well, to eavesdroppers, I see you. I have a thing on the screen here that tells me how many people are on here, and there are a lot of you on there, and you're silent. So please chime in. Please, we see. And did you watch the Fockers? Did you watch Meet the?
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you're thinking. There you go. See, you have to push. So hey, Joe. How you doing,
hey,
man? Thank you. Joe says, that's profound. The state of our kids' mental health with technology and social media, it's bizarre. Bizarre.
It is bizarre.
Bizarre.
Fully bizarre.
Yes, bizarre. And then we have Normani, another buddy of mine. So both of those individuals, Normani and Jojo, from Liberia, played basketball together or in high school together. Normani says, we're listening. Yeah, listen and chime in, man, because I know you're not the quiet one. By the way, Normani we just started an exercise, a winter challenge, Traci, that you have to exercise every day and get points. And that's such an excellent initiative for, just healthy living. Bro, thanks, man.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were saying, the being together and all of these, what it conjures. Family's there for a reason, and family, I'm using it loosely, not blood, but connection. Because some people think it's my bloodline, and I can have somebody who wasn't born by my mom and dad who's closer to me than my brother or my sister, because there's an understanding, there's a connection in there. But when you were talking, I said to myself, just what Jojo said. Yeah, the shootings, etc. They came up in thank you, Jojo. They came up in an era of school shootings, etc. But then they also came in an era of social media and all of these things that they are. You see, we played outside, and the street lights was time for some people to go, and not for me. It was time for me to continue being in the street. But the street lights came on, and that's when we went back inside. The children are on there, just mirroring, and we could talk to Traci, and if I tell Traci, Traci could talk back to me, and we could squash it there either with hugging, loving, or punching. And the next day we got together and we hung out. This time and there were 2 or 3 people, if any, were viewing. Now the pressure of the entire world viewing what Traci said to me, and the fact that my brain, I am so, my daughter told my wife the other day, Mom, you may think I'm mature, but I'm not. I need help. And just what you were saying. And we laughed and we're like, oh, praise God. She says, yeah, because they have information, but information doesn't mean maturity.
Oh my God. That distinction is huge. I think people forget that all the time.
It's revelation of the information that brings the knowledge. When, I know I'm going to go to the Bible. You can say, in Jesus' name, you're healed. Blah, 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 blah. And if you're parroting, man, that thing ain't going to work. It's the knowledge and the revelation within you of the information that you have that ensures that you can stand now and do and know that you have a backing. But I will end with this. Snakes bite and scorpions sting. And why did I bring this up? As old as we are, and even to the kids, to the younger ones, the young adults, toddlers wouldn't know this, but snakes bite and scorpions sting. I was watching TV yesterday and I saw someone on it saying something, and I went, why did I even go? And I knew that this has to come out of this person's mouth. It comes out. There is nothing that will come out of that will be what another person may be expecting, or I may be expecting. So as we are going through our lives, man, you will know your scorpions, you will know your snakes. But here's the deal. We are so not stupid. We're so not in tune and trusting in ourselves when we discern whom the snakes are, who the scorpions are, who the doves are, who the loving ones are. We so don't trust ourselves that we open up and still provide the hand so that we get bitten. Until we understand that when we see a snake and we know a snake, you can still engage with a snake. There is something knowing that it's a snake and you're engaging with a snake that makes you know that, okay, it may strike at any time. So I have to be careful. You're not saying you don't want any snakes in your life, because the snakes in your life ensures that you're always on your game. You're ready. You're paying attention. You're not fat and sitting down and go, oh yeah. No, you are aware of your surroundings. You're not complacent. So in our everyday lives, I tell you, it's so important that we understand who they are, and it's not only on the negative side. We understand who's on the positive side, who encourages, who pushes us, who sharpens us to do better for humanity. And I'll close with so Normani says, I think your experiences shape your worldview. Coming from Liberia, Africa, where we were faced with many challenges as compared to our kids, it's difficult empathizing with, oh my goodness, yes. It's been a learning process. Lots of listening, understanding at times. And so, yes.
I honor that he said that, because I think we do need to do just that and honor the fact that it's very hard. I mean, it's like when I was a teacher, and one parent told me one time, she says, you'll understand when you have your own kids.
Oof.
And it burned at that moment. But I also knew it was true. I mean, I didn't have kids. Like, how are you going to know something that you've never experienced? And I think that that's the whole thing, is relating to generations that have been raised under conditions that are drastically different than the ones we were raised under.
Yes.
It makes it very difficult. And I don't think we're meant to understand fully, as in experience it, because we can't really understand it unless we experience it. But I think we can go to seek through curiosity to understand, to ask them the right questions, to not assume that their version of what's going on is our version, because we come from completely different worlds, effectively. And instead of assuming, oh, well, geez, why are they not acting this way? Well, they were raised under different conditions in a different world. Be curious about that. Like, oh, I've noticed that your interpretation of this, I do this with my daughter all the time. I understand your interpretation of this is very different than what mine would be. Like, tell me more. Like, and sometimes they can explain it, sometimes they can't. And sometimes we get to an impasse, and we can't get beyond that piece that we can't see because we never had that experience, and they can't seem to understand how to explain it to us because it's so obvious to them under the conditions they've experienced, right? So sometimes the language doesn't meet us in the middle, but at least if we seek, to have that understanding. I mean, we just, like I was talking to my husband the other day, I have a very I'm strong and I've always been healthy, but I have a sensitive constitution in the sense that I can sense things. If
Mm-hmm.
something doesn't suit my system, I can feel it. I can feel like I'm the canary in the coal mine when it comes to stuff. It's like
Gotcha.
I can sense it before it happens, type of thing. So I'm very sensitive in that regard. And my husband was talking about something. He was talking about, we had both had COVID like a year and a half ago. And he's like, oh yeah, it was no big deal. I don't know why people are making such a big deal. It's not a big deal. I was like sick for like 3 days and it was not that big a deal. It was like having a cold. I was like, that was your experience. And for you to say it's not a big deal,
Woo.
really, I don't like that from my perspective, because my perspective, it was a big deal. Like, I thought I was on my deathbed.
Ooh.
Like, so for you to undercut my experience because yours was different, just watch your words. I realize what you mean is this, but I'm going to say, I'm not choosing to take offense to that, but I'm going to communicate that you need to be careful, because your assumptions start to make it sound like everybody should stop making such a big deal about this whole thing because you didn't experience it as a big deal.
Gosh, and I think that may be the definition of inclusion.
Yes.
In diversity and inclusion, that's what you explain, that scenario that both of us went through it. You went through because you have a different constitution, your physicality, whatever it is, just mercy, just luck, a blessing rather, that the virus cannot attack your so Normani says that I opened a can of worms. You sure did.
That's what we're here to do, is open those cans of worms.
Yes. And we tend to, when I was your age, I could do X, Y, Z. Yeah. Do you know what you have to go through? Like when Normani said this thing about our coming from Liberia, where we were faced with many challenges as compared to our kids. My mom would always tell me she lived with her cousins and it treated her like a slave. She would have to wake up around 5 to draw water, and drawing water, Traci, was go into the well, which may be 5-10 minutes away, pull it out, pour it in the bucket, put it on top of your head, and fill a drum for the day. And then light the fire, chop the wood, and she has a mark on her shin, of the wood, splinter coming in there, and a scar. And she would say, I had to get up at 4 or 5 and do X, Y, and you guys don't even have to. You just turn the water on and get it on. I'm like, okay. Fast forward to here in the States. I tell my children, when we're in school, you don't even have to go, because Dad had a bus, and sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. A Volkswagen bus. And when it didn't work, we had to jump on public transportation. I say, you don't even have to go on public transportation, because you're fighting with men and women who want to go to work, and they're elbowing you. So you're going, being smart, being street savvy, and you guys cannot even get up. But you know something? I think the bottom line is we have to understand the generations and the blessing that comes with this, because I can tell you my mom had peace.
That they gained.
Yeah, she had peace. She had peace. There was no war going on in Liberia in 1960, 1970. But guess what? In 1990, I went through the war with her and my dad and a whole lot of other people. So, and when I come to America and I see America and I see I'm at Howard University, and the students aren't taking advantage of education, I go, you mean you have education and you don't want to be educated, or you're playing around? So as you said, it's so important, and I think that's where I'm gonna put a stake in the ground here in terms of what I will take from this. I know we have another 25 minutes to go, but don't undermine my experience. Don't undermine my experience because yours wasn't that. Normally, my brother and myself shared a bike. Imagine the deal if my boys have 2 each.
Yeah. Well, they have that, but they don't have other things, to your point. I mean, that's I think the exact thing. Your language was in my opinion, spot on. Don't undermine my experience. And further, don't only not undermine it, be curious about it and how that diversity of perspective can add to the greater wisdom that we all can share. Because it is about sharing collective wisdom. I think we forget that. We keep wanting the other to be like us. But the most, like, let's look at organizations. They've already done studies on this multiple times. The most diverse, the most equitable, and the most inclusive of organizations, the ones that have figured out, cracked the code on how to make that work well, are the most innovative and the ones that stay ahead of the competition. Right? And so somehow it's cracking the code of not just not undermining, but appreciating. You know, it's like not just complaining, but having gratitude. Like it's I think we're being, you know, not just surviving, but thriving. Like we've gotten so accustomed to kind of mediocrity or this low level. If I could just reach this bar here, and then getting complacent there, right? And expecting everybody else to want to be at this bar too. Like, why do you want more? I told my entire life, when is good ever going to be good enough? I'm like, that's not the point. I'm grateful for what I have, but I am driven to create more. I was designed to strive for more. Don't undermine my design because you want to say, because I'm not doing it to you. I'm not sitting there berating you because you want to be mediocre, even though I can't understand it necessarily because that's not me. But I'm not sitting there being like, oh my God, I'm just going and doing my thing. So don't shoot me down because I'm designed to seek thriving as opposed to just surviving. I mean, we all are here to play different roles. And I believe that's an important factor. I think what we've hit on today is really a distinction that we need to keep putting up into the light, and we need to be speaking to in this way because we're all struggling around the same issue. We're all like, I hear it with my clients all the time. Oh, these generations, they don't want to work. I'm like, well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think they don't want to work. I think they work best under different conditions. Yes. I think they value things differently. In our generation, you could dangle the carrot or say, I'll pay you more money, or I'll, it was the accolades. It was the titles. It was this stuff.
The certificates.
Yeah. Like I can always tell people, in our age group, it's like they've got, you go on their LinkedIn profile and it's like,
forget it.
I have a certificate, and I'm just like, oh my God, please. Like, who cares? I'm sorry, no offense, but who cares?
Nobody.
Just do it. Go do it. Stop pontificating about it. But the whole point being that they don't care about that stuff. They care about larger issues. They care about global security. They care about making sure this world is going to be here tomorrow for us all to live on. They don't care about whether they get, they're more collectively engaged than they are individually engaged. And on that topic, I'm going to totally take a quick segue. Like you're going to feel like
do it. It's in a moment.
So I was asked to be a speaker and a panelist in an upcoming women's conference. And I, thought about what is it that I want to talk about? Because, I've spent a lot of time working with men in leadership. And I'm being now really in a lot of ways invited into not focusing just on women, but like speaking to the benefits that women can bring to leadership. And one of the things that I started, really thinking about and actually have been reading in this book, I recommend this book. It's called The Sixth Level. It talks about the psychology of men and women. And men's psychology, which most of the world is a man's world, like, the paradigms and the systems that have been created is based on how men think. And men think towards autonomy. Right? Everything is about becoming free and autonomous. Whereas women's brains are designed for care and connection. And it's neither psychology that's meant to be, again, it's not the polar ends of the spectrum that are important. It's how we can come together and create the benefits of each. But that leadership today is calling for, more, we've heard all of it, more empathy, more caring, the ability to actually inspire your people to a greater why, right? But that's actually biologically entrained in women's psychology. And so the more women try to leave that at the door to be like men in order to be in leadership, the more we lose that value. And men have that capacity too, because we both have those polar opposites within us as human beings. We have the nurturing side, and we have the driven, get it done side. We have the doing and the being, we all have that. But in leadership, when we can, again, if this is about diversity and inclusion, is bringing the diverse perspectives. And in this case, it's the psychology piece.
Gotcha.
Thank you for sharing that. That psychology piece that really brings that, because people say, well, how can I be more like this? It's like, yes, let's cultivate it within ourselves, but let's also look at the individuals that just do this naturally. And let's make room for that. We need a new paradigm that isn't so driven by one psychological perspective. And this goes back to the whole multiple perspectives gives us more wisdom to work with, right? Wisdom is a culmination of all the knowing, all the perspectives, all the diversity. That's wisdom. The more we're able to bring that together, the wiser we all become. And is it intelligence we want or wisdom? Yeah. And I think this goes back to what you were saying earlier about kids. Like, you could show a 2-year-old videos on how to drive a car. It doesn't mean they're developmentally ready to do it. Right. So I just see a lot of pontificating about the importance of these things. And everybody's kind of sitting there but how do we create it? We're already being it. We need to cultivate it more in ourselves. We all have the capacity within us for nurturance and care, as well as drive and getting things done. So how can we start to cultivate the way forward in that within ourselves? How can we not be too driven and not be too compassionate where we're overlooking bad behavior, let's say? We keep on, I see this a lot, and it isn't just female leaders. The men I've worked with have the hardest time cutting cords and moving on. When they have like an employee or something that they know they need to get rid of. And they're not, and they're like, oh, I'm loyal. And they've been loyal. And I'm like, okay, you keep focusing on the story of loyalty when this person is productivity. Not only is their productivity not there, they're pulling down the entire productivity of your team. And you're losing, like, look at your numbers. Let's look at the bottom line. I'm not saying this needs to be about bottom line, but like when we coddle people along who clearly don't belong, and I don't mean this belong like we need to kick them to the curb, it's not a fit.
In that particular situation.
You're trying to make a fish live on land. That's not good for the fish. Right? It's not good for the others, who are trying to keep the fish alive, because you're putting all this effort into trying to keep the fish alive when the fish doesn't belong there. Right? So it's not good for anybody, but it's the men that struggle the most. Now the women will do, they can struggle, but they'll find a way to do it with nurturance and with care, and they'll see the larger picture because our brains are wired. There's a guy, and I've got to find it. Let me see if I can find it. Men's and women's brains. It is, let me get his name so people know.
Gotcha.
Because he is an absolute hoot. He is, I think he's a pastor. And he does this, and this is an old video. I don't know if I can find it. But he does this whole, it's almost like a stand-up act. About the difference between men's and women's brains. The Tale of Two Brains is what it's called. Mark Gungor, Gungor. And it's a hilarious perspective on the difference between how men's and women's brains are wired. So if you just look up A Tale of Two Brains, Mark Gungor, you can see that video.
So could we do a 3-minute piece on it?
Sure.
Okay. Let's, why not? This is, I know when people who are going to replay this, they wouldn't be able to see on Google Podcasts or the other different podcasts places that wouldn't be able to see this. However, look for the video. Go to Eavesdrop. Okay, I'm going to share this here. Oh my goodness. Now I'm excited about this. Share my entire screen. Share that. Also share the audio system.
RAM. So they can remember the details of everything.
You got to go back to the beginning. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah, I think he starts with men's brain. So he's
the minimum basic requirements to keep us breathing and eating. Okay,
gotcha. Well, you got a picture, team. Let's. Oh my goodness.
You know, when an event happens, we just categorize it as an event. All right. Whereas women, it's not just the event; it's all the details connected with an event. You'll run into this when a friend of your family or something will call and you know she just had a baby and then you tell your wife, oh, so-and-so's called, they had the baby. And she'll say, well, what was it? And he says, well, it was a baby. Well, what kind of baby? I don't know. It's a baby. What difference does it make? Well, how long was it? Well, I don't know. How long? How tall? How many, how much did it weigh? I don't know, under 20 pounds. Well, just...
But yeah, I mean, get the picture. That's true. So I'll put that. There's a video. There's a full hour thing that he has on there on YouTube. But I'll just put his name in here that we can. But you can continue talking to.
Yeah, there's a piece when I first got turned on to it years ago, like somebody shared it with me, and I have used that and shared it with clients so many times. But there's a 5-minute piece where he talks about, he starts, it's the beginning of the and it's like like men's brains, everything's in boxes. And when we're going to talk about something, we just pick that one box. Mm-hmm. And we pull it out and we talk about what's in that one box, and then he says, and then we put it back very carefully, making sure it doesn't touch any other boxes. But then when he talks about women's brains, he's like, there's this interconnectivity, like there is no singular box for each individual things. We don't compartmentalize.
Yeah.
But yet we need in life moments of compartmentalization. We need to be able to compartmentalize, organize, systematize. We need that. And at the same time, we also need these other details, right? So we were designed brilliantly by God with all of the pieces but the key piece is not to create systems that are just about one side of it, one piece. Think about the paradigms we've all been raised in. It's that male, like everything needs to be siloed and systematized and organized and put into these boxes. And now we see this shift where it's like, well, no, because then we're missing the human piece, and humans are by nature complex creatures. We're not these singular siloed boxes. We've got all these different things going on in our lives, and kids these days want to be able to come to work and say, my productivity will be low today because I just lost my grandparent last night. They want to not just like put on the brave face or not call in sick because they don't have sick days left. They want to be able to have that support in their lives, not just in their work life. Yeah. They want to know they matter as a human being in all their complexity. And our systems don't support that. Our systems only support you work when you work and you go home when you go home and you go, and so we're now having this clash of titans between the systems we've been operating under for a millennia that are geared towards the male brain. And what we need now as a culture of people, right? Culture meaning the collective culture of humanity, right? We need something more. We need to see that we aren't just these boxes that like that joke where it's like, you go to work in a box, and you go to work in a box, and then you come home to a box, and you eat a box dinner, and all these boxes, and everything is in. That's not how humans were designed to be.
Yeah.
To live in boxes.
Yeah.
And yet we've tried, and boxes are about polarity. This box is black, this box is white. The white boxes belong over here, the black boxes, but it creates polarity. Whereas women's brains were designed to create diversity, like to understand the connective pieces, that allow us to work as a collective force. Right? That the black boxes, and it's not about being a black box or a white box and putting you in separate areas. It's about what the black and white boxes, when they come together, can create. Right? It's not just about the what is it? The 5 colors, the five I said cardinal colors, the 5. That you've got red, you've got blue, you've got yellow, and then when you put those colors together, you get other colors, right? Like there's only a few of the, and I can't think of the word, the main colors, but it isn't just about those colors. It's about the primary. Thank you. It's not just about the primary colors. It's about the fact that the primary colors, when merged together, can create a variety of other colors, like never-ending variety of other colors. Yeah. That's where life becomes interesting. If it was just always about the primary, and all we ever had was primary colors, and we could only see primary colors, life would get a lot more boring. Or maybe we wouldn't know it because that's all we knew. But the whole point is that we have diversity through collectivity and connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the piece that, women in leadership isn't just about promoting women as leaders, because we all have that capacity to care and connection. It's just women have it more naturally. It's something we understand a lot easier. And I'm here to invite women to not leave that at the door because they think they need to be more like men to be leaders, but also that we need to have cultures and companies that understand the value of that. And they don't try to expect women to operate as men or any of it, because it's hurting all of us. Just like it hurts the fish to be out of water, hurts it decreases the productivity when everybody's trying to keep the fish alive when it doesn't even belong there, right? Yeah. We don't belong in a silo.
Correct.
Right.
You as you were speaking, it's being ourselves, ensuring that when you talked about somebody's looking, when you come into a room, Verlin says this, that say you are an artist and you're drawing, you and somebody comes and looks at you drawing, and then within them they go, ooh, drawing, what? Wow. I don't even want a drawing. I want something that is innate, something that you've worked on, that somebody comes in and they see it, and I think the culture says they hate on it, right? They throw shade on what you're doing, and it's something that you have cultivated over time. And because they do not want to spend the time cultivating their uniqueness, they're spending the time throwing shade on you rather than going and working on themselves. There was a second, and so 3 things I wanted to say. The second one is, in this conversation with our children or with a spouse who has a different culture, and there's a culture within cultures, there are so many different minutia in these things are. We're born in Africa, then we're born in West Africa, then we're born in Liberia, then you're born on the West side. I mean, you just have
work.
All these different things that come in there, right? The bottom line is, so last week we were doing a strategy. I'm doing a strategy session with clients, and I say, we run a brainstorm in here. And I didn't put the rules of brainstorming. I said, let's go. Somebody said something, the other person said something. Then the third person said, yeah, but that is, and I went, burr, 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 burr. I said, when you're brainstorming, nobody's wrong. The
Mm.
person can come in and say whatever they want to say, and what they're saying may have a nugget that we can utilize in the entire process. So the only words I want to hear in a brainstorm is "and." There are no buts.
Love it.
There are no buts in brainstorming. And when I took that, I said to myself, but I think that's how we need to engage with our everyday. That
Yeah.
when we this is a brainstorming session. We're discussing. A discussion is a brainstorming session. The person is storming their brain about something that they believe in that moment of time, what they have, and they're discussing it, and you're there going, no, that's not the way. No, that's not
Mm-hmm.
a brainstorming session, because we're storming both our brains now are going, okay, let's storm it, but my storm doesn't have to affect you. Right, my storm doesn't have to affect you, because I'm just give me the liberty to expound on what I need to expound on. When you do it, if nobody wins, and there's an idea about winning, I saw this clip on, I think it was Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, say, what's your mentality on winning and losing? Says, I think it was Kobe. He said, I don't have one. He said, I go in learning. And I go, what? I said, go in learning. He said, I go in learning because if I go winning or losing, I'm going to do things that will make me win, and I will close my mind to learning, to improving, that I can come the next time and become better. Like what you were saying, I'm thriving for something. I'm not winning and losing isn't the main thing here. Winning, it's me learning and going. And what you'll find that if Traci Phillips keeps learning, if Normani or Jojo or Edwin keep learning, they will move to the top.
Yep. Well,
they will move to the top.
You just use when you were talking, I had this visual, and it makes me think of puzzles. Like when you dump out, a 2,000 piece puzzle set, every puzzle piece belongs somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's like, yeah, I don't like that one. That one. Because you'd never finish the puzzle if you were pulling out other pieces, right? So the vision I got was, if we're building a house, we're building a brick wall, better yet. And you put down a brick, and I'm like, no. That's the but. Like, yes. You put down a brick, and I replace it with my brick. And then you're like, no. We would never build the wall. We would just be putting the same brick. Like, so when you allow your bricks to stack, you may find, actually, maybe that brick goes better over here, but you're utilizing it. Like you said, taking a nugget out of it. The and means that everybody's brick belongs somewhere. It may not belong in that place, and it may belong in that place. Maybe you're thinking it doesn't, but the person's like, I'm creating a keystone here. Like I didn't see what your vision was. Okay, yeah, then it would make sense to put that brick there, right? Like with curiosity and the assumption that everybody's brick belongs somewhere.
Yeah.
Will mean that we get to build that wall, because if we're constantly like, no, this is better, we never get anywhere. And that's, I think, where we are figuring these things out now as a human culture, right? And when people always say culture, I'm like, I know, I mean humanity. Like everybody on this planet, that is human. We are all struggling in some way to move away from the paradigm of this or that. This is good, that's bad, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, because that is just like constantly replacing the brick with a different brick, and we don't get anywhere, right? So
correct. You, as you were saying it, and when you put it that way, I love this. That is such an excellent visual. That I think it's the innate nature of man, the selfish nature of man, that wants to be on top, to say, I created this. And until we can say and not even say it with not a tinge or tint of selfishness, and say, we did this. Oh my goodness. That's when I think we're going into a place that we can hear everybody speak. We can listen to our children. We can when we operate out of love versus fear. Because I see a lot of that in how we're training our kids. I went through X, I went through Y, I went through Z. I don't want you to go through that. So you are not going. I think we talked about this last 2 weeks or so. You got to operate out of love in everything you're doing. And somebody's saying, operate out of love. Well, I ain't talking to my wife or my girlfriend or my spouse, partner. No, 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 no. It's just loving humanity to let humanity be in that. See, love is patient, love is kind. It doesn't force down your throat. It's love just speaks truth and knowledge. And the listener will grasp it today or next week or a couple years. Case what you said when the teacher told you when you have your kids, you will experience this. And you did. And years later, you still remember that particular person. So it's not about the essence of time. If you get it now, or you get it then, or you get it way back, way future. It's you putting your truth, putting the wisdom or your words with love out there, and let it stay and watch. And I'm going to close on this because then I'm going to let you roll this in because we're doing it at 1 hour. It comes across as this, Traci. It comes when I sit, when you're growing up and your parents chastise you and train you and tell you time out, or they pop you behind, or they whip you for doing something that you're not supposed to do. And it's not a mistake. It's an intentional thing. All those different trainings in 2018, something that happened in 1988, when I would be talking to my dad, I would say, wow, Daddy, thank you. Thank you for training. Thank you for everything you've done for me. And I'm sincerely saying it. You see, I've come to the point in the spectrum of time that I didn't appreciate it then. But with the spectrum of time, I've come to that realization here that wisdom hit me that, gosh, that dude was doing that thing out of love. He was doing it out of a place, not fear. He was doing it out of, even if he did it with fear, now I am mature to understand his box, to know that he was saying, I want my son to become a better person in the future.
And so hindsight can be 20. Correct. But I think what we're talking about is to be more present, because it doesn't have to be years later that we get that point. I'm
coming right there. That's why I brought that time thing in. When we realize that, and you have to know that it's coming with love. The motive of the person is coming with love, a concern for you, that you can put that time, and that's where wisdom comes in, that you can grab hold of it and say, this person, and not take offense to what that person is saying, and say, you know what, the thing this person is saying, I'm going to keep it and I'm going to learn from it. So as a criticism or whatever it is, take it, cut that spectrum of time down to now, to say, you know what, this person doesn't want to kill me, doesn't want to hurt me. This person wants to see me grow. I'm going to take that with love and understand it, and train myself in moving forward. Traci, take us home on this one, because this is where this is a wrap up and a goodbye. So do your wrap up.
So I mean, I think what you're saying is really important, because I also think that typically we've always thought that we were meant to learn from the older generations. And I think we're in a time where we get to we can learn from anybody. And we need to, because there is such a gap in generations, which gives a gap in perspectives, which brings a different perspective forward, which is valuable. So I lean into that with my daughter. I always have. I've always felt that my daughter was as much of a guide for me as I could be for her as a parent. Like, we just bring different guidance, right? Because we have different perspectives. But I mean, when she is incredibly intuitive. That kid, when she boom, when something jumps into, something just came in the other night and she jumped on it. She jumps on it with passion. That's how I always know it's an intuitive hit for her. And I think she's still learning, and like pointing out, hey, hun, I think this is coming through. Yes, it's a part of this lesson you're in, but I think this is a higher level in intuition hit. And I think you're seeing things from a much broader perspective that I think you're bringing a lot of value to this piece. It does need to be addressed, not just by you and not just by us. I think we need to look at what this all means, that I always look to that. I mean, she is one of the most intuitive people I know. So even though she's 16 years old, I'll oftentimes ask for her opinion on something because I know she has that particular viewpoint. Correct. She's designed to take it in and mull it over in ways that bring this perspective that I know is really valuable. So I always invite people to say, let's not think of the top down order all the time. Like, oh, because you're older and you've had more life. I mean, I see plenty of people who've had enough life experience and they have no wisdom. I'm sorry, no offense, but and people who are really young and really wise, and so I think we need to stop with this whole hierarchy thing. I mean, I said that leadership is not top down, it's across the table. Current leadership is, I said leaders aren't even the ones that put their people first. They're the ones that put their people at the table with them. That's the leadership, right? That's shepherd leadership. The shepherd, where does the shepherd stand in a flock? He doesn't stand in the back. He doesn't stand in the front. He stands in the heart, in the middle. His sheep surround him, right? And it doesn't make him the center of attention. He can see far more of what's going on, and the herd itself can be its own protective organism, right? So, we really do get to look at a lot, whether it's leadership. Leadership is a representation of humanity, right? How we lead ourselves, how we choose to lead, and because what we're seeing is these paradigms, these systems by which we have chosen to operate are no longer serving us.
Amen. Woo, I could go for another 30 minutes. I could go for another hour on this because I think we are, you know what? I'm going to put this down here as, Shepherd, SHEPHERD. There you go. For next week, I tell her next 2 weeks. Thank you, Traci. This has been we just before this, we prayed that this would be ministry. And I tell you, there's a different focus. There's a different meaning when you come and speak, not with idle words, but with intentionality. I want to say thank you to all those eavesdroppers who stayed on from beginning to end and people who popped in and popped out. We appreciate you. Traci, have a good one, dear.
You too. Bye, everyone.
I enjoyed this. Woo.